Salut tout le monde, it's your boy, Lukael, and welcome to my third Q&A on the channel. I'm always a little bit nervous before starting these videos where I'm not playing a game because I'm always a little bit awkward just sitting here without a game to talk about, but this is the Q&A for my 5k milestone on the channel. It's always a little bit weird. I don't know, it feels a little bit narcissistic to do Q&As. Like, let me just talk about myself for like an hour. It's always a bit strange, but like, I don't really know what else to do to celebrate these milestones. Like, there's like two reasons why I do these. One is because I want to do something like special to celebrate reaching these new milestones, and 5k was a big one for me. And the other reason is because I like to do something where I can interact with you guys. Like, of course, I love reading your comments and answering comments and talking with you guys down in the comment section, but doing a Q&A gives us a chance to have a bit more of a dialogue where you can ask some questions and then I can maybe elaborate a little bit more than I usually would in the comments. And I don't know, I just don't have any other ideas for what I could do for when I reach a milestone. So if you have any ideas, feel free to give me a recommendation down in the comments. But this is the 5k Q&A, so I want to start by saying a big thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel. We reached 5k a lot faster than I thought we would. I think I reached 1k like a year ago, and now we're already at 5k, so slowly but surely the channel is growing. You know, when I first started, 1k was my big milestone I was aiming for. Now that we've reached that, 5k was kind of like the next one. Now we're here. I guess the next one's gonna be 10k. Maybe in another year we'll get to reach that. I am following my Q&A tradition of having like the background of a game I really like in the background. So in the first video, I think it was Dishonored. Second video was Gravity Rush. And now today I've got a background from Stray, another one of my favorite games. And I just love the vibe. I love the mood of this place. So yeah, a big thank you. Merci beaucoup for subscribing to the channel, for leaving some comments, for taking time out of your day to watch the videos. Of course, for those of you that support me on Patreon, an extra big thank you for you. So yeah, I'm gonna take some time today to answer some questions, and please don't mind the fact that I'm stuck inside this box here. Just pretend that's not the case. Now, a lot of these might be questions that I've already answered in a previous Q&A, but I'm still gonna answer all of them because a lot of you are new to the channel, maybe haven't watched those videos, and maybe some of my answers have changed. I haven't really taken the time to read these questions like in depth. I got a quick look at some of them. A lot of them seems to be like, are you gonna play this game? Have you played this game? So we're gonna go through all of them. Also, of course, thank you to everyone who left some questions. I appreciate that. So we start with Ants. Ants, who says, I'd like to see a tattoo tour or just some of your faves. So I've answered this before. I can go through it quickly again, I guess. But I can show both of my sleeves over here. I got my chest piece over here. And then I've got a couple gaming tattoos. So I've got Gravity Rush in the Gravity Rush alphabet. Got the Paragon Renegade from Mass Effect. Got the Mark of the Outsider here from Dishonored. Got all of the planets and different astral bodies from the solar system on my fingers. Got the Mark of Yevon from Final Fantasy X there. I also got a new one actually. When I went to California last fall to visit my friend Audrey, she got to do a tattoo on me. It's a matching one that we both have. And so just a little something that we wanted to do to commemorate me going down there for the first time. So thank you, Ants. Next we've got, okay, I got two questions from Ben B. So we've got Ben B saying, congrats, I found you through your Outer Wilds series and now I'm currently binging your Subnautica series, which these are pretty much the two playthroughs that have brought the biggest influx of new subscribers to the channel. So thank you to everyone who's found me through one of these two. And if you haven't found me through one of these two and you found me from something else, I would love to hear about it. Question for your Q&A, if you could be teleported inside one of the games you've played, either for the channel or just overall in your life, which game would you choose? What fictional world would I like to be part of? I'm gonna have to really stop and think about this. Because, you know, it's one thing to love the aesthetics of a world, but to live in there is quite a different story. For example, I really love the world of Stray, you know, with all the robots and it just looks beautiful. I love the aesthetic. But living in that world, would that be so nice? I don't know. Like, there's no humans anymore. The world has kind of been destroyed. There's only robots left. There are all these weird creatures running around. Another one is I really love the world of Gravity Rush, but it's a very dangerous world. Like, there's creatures, there's disasters happening all the time. You really can't have any vertigo because you're always high up in the sky. So would I want to live in that world? Maybe not. What world would I like to live in? Dishonored is another one. The world is very cool. Would you want to live there though? It's kind of a shitty place to be. Well, there's the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. You know, even though it's post-apocalyptic, there is something to be said about going back to nature and like, I don't think I would survive for very long in a world where you're back in nature and like there's machines everywhere. I would probably die very quickly, so probably not a good pick either. Damn, this is harder than I thought. Oh, I've got one. I want to live in the world of Ni no Kuni, but before he goes to the fantasy world, when he's just living like in his little small town, because that's basically just living in a world of Ghibli, and everyone is very nice. There doesn't seem to be any crime or anything bad happening, you know? It's a Ghibli world. Everyone is nice to each other, and like it's got a nice little small town aesthetic. So I guess I would want to live in Oliver's village at the beginning of Ni no Kuni. That's where I want to live. And then Ben also asks, how long does it usually take you to edit videos? It really depends on the videos. Now, something that's very kind of cutscene and dialogue heavy, like the Telltale games, like The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead, these were very, very fast to edit because I kind of I don't have to rewatch most of it. It's a lot of cutscenes, so I can just skip through everything. So those would take me maybe like an hour to edit. But typically, if it's a game that's very heavy on gameplay, like Prey, which I just played, for example, I pretty much have to watch the whole thing. It usually takes like 1.5 times the amount of footage I have to watch. So let's say I have 2 hours of footage. It's gonna take me like 3 hours to edit. On average, basically the more I'm talking, the longer it takes to edit because I have to always like edit stuff that I say wrong, or I just stumble on my words, or that I'm looking for the right word, and of course the more little funny edits that I try to add, that takes more time too. So it is pretty time consuming. It does take quite a few hours to edit each video, so I'm really jealous of people that just kind of post unedited videos. Like they just hit record and then they record like 2 hours of footage and they just post that on YouTube. It's like, that's amazing to me. I could never do that. Like I need to edit everything and it takes a very long time. So, but it is what it is. So thank you, Ben, for the question. Next, we've got how do you say that? Ben the Tevs. Is that right? They say, well deserved on the milestone. Thank you. I've been loving all your playthroughs, even as far back as Life is Strange and The Last of Us 2. So that's the very beginnings of the channel, like 4 or 5 years ago. So this is someone who's been here a very long time. While watching The Last of Us 2 playthrough, I noticed you didn't pick up on an Uncharted reference, which makes me assume you have yet to play the series. My question to you would be, are you interested in that series at all? Would you ever play it on the channel? Or if you have played it, which was your favorite one? Thanks for the amazing videos and congratulations. Thank you so much. I haven't played any of the Uncharted games. However, I do own all of them, I think, on PS4. And would I be interested in playing them? Sure. Basically, I have the same answer to any game recommendation I get, is like, I would be willing to play it as long as it's something that people are interested in watching. And so I have, of course, my own list of games that I'm interested in, but I do try to go for games that would interest the most amount of people, like that you guys would be the most interested in watching, of course. And so if there was some interest in Uncharted, I would definitely be open to playing them on the channel, because yeah, I have heard that the gameplay is pretty similar to The Last of Us, and I actually really enjoyed the gameplay in Last of Us, so I'm definitely open to it. So thank you, Ben the Tevs. Next, we've got from Bipster, who says, you've honestly been one of my favorite people to watch play games. Thank you. It really gets to me when people say that. I first watched your Disco Elysium playthrough, then Outer Wilds, then Prey. Now I'm going through your The Last of Us Part 2 series, going way back again. I absolutely love your videos and enjoy your game analysis and attention to detail. Thank you so much. I'm really bad at receiving compliments. I never know what to say, but I really appreciate it. Whenever someone says I'm one of their favorite people to watch, it kind of blows my mind still to this day. So thank you. I don't really have any questions. Okay, just thought of one just now. Do you have a favorite Let's Play or playthrough channel? That's all. Hope you have an awesome day. I hope you do as well. If I have a favorite Let's Play playthrough channel, I follow a few Let's Players on YouTube, and this is something I've talked about in previous Q&As also. My kind of go-to is probably Mapopolops. He's someone that's kind of inspired me to make my own Let's Play channel a few years back. So he would be my go-to, but I do watch a few other people as well. I mean, I don't I don't watch like a ton of people because I don't really have that much time to watch them, but it's why I really appreciate when people say, of course, that they watch my videos, but also when they say I'm one of their favorites, because I found it's very hard to find like the right Let's Player that kind of fits your vibe, because I've watched a lot of playthroughs where like after a few videos I'm like, I'm not really vibing that much with this person. Like either they don't really seem to have that much interesting to say or to add, like they kind of just play the game and they don't talk enough about like what they're thinking about, and like that's what I really am into personally, is I want to hear their thought process and like their theories about what's going on in the game, and like it's something that I try to do in my own videos, is like just talk about just what I'm thinking about, you know. And then some others, you know, a lot of them are stream recordings from Twitch, and so they'll spend a lot of time just kind of talking to chat, which is not really my thing either. So it's really hard to find someone you really vibe with and that you enjoy what they do. But I would say Apocalypse is kind of that guy for me. But hey, if you have any suggestions for other Let's Players I could be watching, leave them down in the comments. Tell me who your favorites are, and I might check them out. So thank you, Bipster. Next from Saris, we've got, what is the craziest thing you've ever done? What's the craziest thing I've done? I haven't really done anything that crazy in my life, to be honest. I lead a very normal, kind of boring life. I mean, last fall when I went to visit my friend in California, I did all that without her knowing. Like I was planning that with her boyfriend, and so she didn't know it was happening, even though it had been like planned for months and months. And so when I showed up in her house, she didn't even know I was gonna be there. And so it's not something crazy, but it was pretty fun. Something crazy, I really don't know. Like I don't do anything extreme or like, you know, paragliding or parachutes or surfing or anything crazy like that. So yeah, I really can't think of anything crazy I've done. Sorry, my life is just too boring. Honestly, I think the craziest thing I've done is just making this channel and just like uploading hundreds of hours of footage of myself on the internet for everyone to see. That's probably the craziest thing I've done. There's moments where I'll think about it and I just feel like I should delete everything, like just delete the entire channel and forget I ever did any of this, and because I'm just embarrassed, I guess, about so much of myself being out there. But anyways, what's your favorite food? My favorite food, I really love a great kind of gourmet vegan burger. Like there's like a few different restaurants around me that have some really good vegan burgers. That's kind of my go-to. There's a really good pizza place nearby that also has like just the best pizza. That's one of my favorite. I'm a big fan of like breakfast food, so any kind of like breakfasty stuff is kind of up my alley. And of course, you know, the classic answer is anything cooked by my mama. Anything that my mother makes is my favorite. Like her Christmas donuts are great. She's got these little pecan snacks that are so good. Next, they ask, has recording and talking during your gameplay become more natural / easier since you've made so many more videos now? No, it hasn't. In fact, I think I'm getting worse at it, honestly. It still doesn't feel natural at all. It's still a struggle. In fact, I've been going back and watching some of my older videos in preparation for something. I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like in my earlier playthroughs, I was a lot more carefree and natural. Like I guess I was less self-conscious because I figured no one was watching anyway, so I guess it wasn't as intimidating. When there's only 50 views per videos, you're like, whatever, no one's gonna watch this anyway, so I'm just gonna say anything, you know. But now I feel more self-conscious, so I don't feel like I'm getting better at it. I feel like I'm getting worse, actually. So check me out in a few years when I can barely string together a sentence. That's gonna be fun. So thank you for the questions. Next we've got Chris Thomason, who sent me like 100 different questions. I mean, I can't blame you. I did ask for questions and you delivered. Let me just go through this and see if I can boil it down to some questions I can answer. You mentioned the TV show Severance in your Stanley Parable playthrough. If you're not watching Severance, go and watch it right now. It's a great TV show. With this in mind, what's your all-time favorite TV show? Maybe a top 5? Top 5 TV shows. I didn't really used to watch that much TV until like the last couple of years. And now me and my girlfriend, we do watch a lot of TV. And my favorites, I mean, I can name you a few. Well, Severance that we're watching right now is one of the best shows that I've watched for sure. I really love the Columbo series. That's one of my favorites. A lot of shows I like are just kind of like comedies from Quebec that I watched when I was growing up. So, Dans une galaxie près de chez vous, La Petite Vie, Le Cœur a ses raisons, that's one of my favorites. They're all shows that you guys have probably never heard of, but when I was younger, I really loved Reboot, which some of you might be familiar with. Really liked Cyber 6. I was really into Game of Thrones when it was good, before it became complete garbage right at the end. Really liked the Castlevania Netflix show, that was good. Really liked Arcane, that was fantastic. Really liked the comedy shows, you know, like Parks and Rec and The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I really like. I guess off the top of my head, these are the ones that come to mind. There's probably some others that I'm forgetting, but these are the first ones I can think of. What are 5 movies you feel are masterpieces? Not necessarily your top 5, but more so 5 films that you feel are as close to a perfect film that you'd always recommend everyone watch at least once. I mean, if I thought a movie was perfect, it would probably be one of my favorite movies also. So I could give you my top 5 in no particular order. The Lighthouse from Robert Eggers, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from Michel Gondry, Mad Max Fury Road from George Miller. That's like my top 3. It's harder to pick 2 more. It's a toss-up between Castle in the Sky and Porco Rosso from Studio Ghibli. And then I guess maybe like The Matrix by the Wachowskis. I was a big fan of when I was younger. It's still one of my favorites. Yeah, that would be my top 5. It's really hard to pick your favorites of anything because there's so many great movies out there, you know. I guess I could link you to my Letterboxd account down in the description if you want to take a look at my other favorites, but there's so many. Wait, let me take a look. Just to name a few: Everything Everywhere All at Once, Terminator 2, Alien, Aliens, Your Name, Pirates of the Caribbean, Fargo, Ex Machina, Nightmare Before Christmas, Jurassic Park, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, Inglourious Bastards, Minority Report, Big Fish, What We Do in the Shadows. Oh, I forgot to name that for my TV shows. What We Do in the Shadows, great TV show. V for Vendetta, The Prestige, Old Boy, Wall-E, Her. I don't know, there's too many good movies to really talk about all of them, but those are some of my favorites. Next, your 5 favorite bands or musical artists. Top 5 favorite bands, let me give you 7. So, Magdalena Bay would be my favorite currently. Capsule, Edo Lee, Mute Matt, Kimbra, Steam Powered Giraffe, and then System of a Down. So that's a lot of different genres, but I kind of like to listen to a lot of everything. I'm more into like electronic stuff now. I went through phases, I think we all do. You know, when I was younger, I was a lot more into like metal. Now I'm more into like electronic and more chill stuff. And I don't know, I like to listen to a little bit of everything. I don't listen to that much music. Or rather, I don't really listen to specific bands as much anymore. I'll just hear like one song out in the wild, like on the radio somewhere, and then I'll add it to my rotation. Is more so what I do now. So I'm more like into specific songs rather than like bands, but these 7 are like some of my constant favorites. He asks, can you list your top 10 favorite games of all time in order or no specific order? That is very, very difficult indeed. I think it was like a year or 2 ago, I did post my top 30 games on the channel in the community post, and like it's probably still pretty relevant, so I don't know which would be my top 10 out of these. It's really hard to choose your favorites, you know, it's like picking your favorite children. For the longest time, my number 1 top favorite game was Shadow of the Colossus, and it's still pretty much up there, but then I have since played Outer Wilds, and so Outer Wilds has kind of like reached up there. I guess they're neck and neck. They're like 2 of my favorites. Let me see if I can narrow it down to 10. So in no particular order, Shadow of the Colossus, Outer Wilds, and then Gravity Rush, Mass Effect. Let's go with like Mass Effect Legendary, so that has all 3 games in it. Gonna cheat a little bit. Horizon Zero Dawn, and I guess the sequel, they're pretty much the same to me. Persona 5, oh, but I've since played Disco Elysium also. It's hard to pick like just one per series, you know, I almost want to pick like the whole franchise. Like all the Katamari games to me, like they're all kind of similar, so I guess Katamari would have a spot in there. And then like, I like all the Zelda games. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Majora's Mask, Final Fantasy X, Undertale, Dishonored 2, It's hard to pick because there's the games where the story really stuck with you for a long time, and then there's the games that are just like plain fun to play, you know, like a Monster Hunter World. I played so much of that. Smash Ultimate, I played so much of it. Hollow Knight would be up there in that top 10, I think. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna post like my full top 30, 40 games, and it'll give you a pretty good idea. I think it's games that I've all talked about before, so. And then Chris says, lastly, what is the first game you ever fully completed? It must have been just the first Super Mario Brothers game on NES. I think that's like the first game a lot of us finished. It was also pretty short, so it's either that one or like the first Mega Man on NES, because these were my two first games that I played, so one of these two. So thank you, Chris, for your wall of questions. So next we have Crimson Foxwing 19, who asks, what is your favorite video game soundtrack? Also, thanks for becoming one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. You're thanking me? I should be thanking you for saying that. My favorite video game soundtrack? Again, you want me to pick just one? It's like impossible. There's so many amazing video game soundtracks out there. Can I pick like a top 5? Final Fantasy X, Undertale, Persona 5, Shadow of the Colossus, Gravity Rush. Yeah, I think that would be my top 5 soundtracks. That's a little bit easier to pick than favorite games, but I'm probably forgetting a bunch of them also. In Cuphead. Shit. Katamari. You can pick any Katamari game and the soundtrack is fucking amazing. So thank you so much, Crimson Foxwing. Next we have For Christ's Sakes, who says, what bone charms do you have equipped day to day like in real life? You know, as much as I love Dishonored, I never really paid that much attention to the bone charms in it. You know what I wish I did is I wish I had one of these real bone charms. I think they sold them as like a little collector's item. I wish I had one of those. But then they say, no, I'm kidding. You mentioned your girlfriend was playing Prey. Would love to hear her thoughts on or off camera. I would love to ask her and have her talk to you about it. Unfortunately, she is sick right now. I can hear her coughing in the other room, so she's not going to be on screen, that's for sure. But I think she liked it. She pretty much shared a lot of my thoughts about it, I think. We haven't really discussed it that much, but she enjoyed it overall. And as for me, I pretty much stand by what I said in the videos themselves and what I said in the comments when I discussed it with you. So enjoyed it overall, but I think it does a lot of things well. And then like a few things could have been done a little bit better, but I'm certainly enjoying Moon Crash a whole lot right now. So if you're not watching my Moon Crash playthrough, I highly recommend you do. Goes for any game you've played. After a game is done and it's maybe been a short while, what are your thoughts? Not reviews per se, just whatever you might want to talk about, like epilogue videos for Let's Plays. Might be interesting for some games at least. I think I've mentioned this at the end of a playthrough recently. Must have been either Prey or Chants of Sonar. Finishing the game is the most awkward moment of a Let's Play for me because the game ends, credits roll, and then you're just kind of like, alright, I'm done. Everyone go home. I feel kind of like put on the spot, like I have to gather all my thoughts and do a bit of post-mortem about the game of my overall opinions, and I don't think I would ever do like an epilogue to a Let's Play where I want to talk about it after the fact. Like at best, what I'll do is I'll take some time to kind of gather my thoughts about it, and then I'll just tag that on at the end of the finale episode. But I guess that's a reason why I will just talk a whole lot about my thoughts about the game in the playthrough itself, because I don't want to do it like all at the end, you know, I want to sprinkle it throughout the whole playthrough. My girlfriend is actually a lot better at that. Well, she will finish a game and then she will take a few days to think about it, and then she'll record like some longer form thoughts right at the end. But it's not really my thing. So anyways, I hope it answers your questions, for Christ's sakes. Next, from Gloria Day, they say, you said you don't like horrors. What was the game that made you realize that? Do you have a horror game that you actually like? What is the one you hated? What would you be willing to play for the channel? Maybe you're curious about one? So yeah, I know I said I don't like horror, and I guess I should specify I don't like jump scares. That's the thing I don't like. I don't like being startled, because I actually quite enjoy horror vibes. In fact, I have played some games that have like horror vibes that I quite enjoy, like Inscription I really liked on the channel. Little Nightmares was really nice too. You know, you could say Prey has some survival horror elements to it. So it's not that I don't like horror in general. In fact, I tend to like it a lot because horror tends to tackle topics and subject matters that aren't usually discussed or explored that much. So I'm actually totally down to play some games that have like horror elements. It's just that typically when they say horror, it means it's gonna be full of jump scares and like you're gonna jump every minute, which I really hate. I don't like being startled. Like a great example is we watched Nosferatu recently at the theater. You know, that's a great movie with so much ambiance, some great performances. Visually, the aesthetics were amazing, but they kept doing jump scares. Like there's so many jump scares in that movie, and I was actually really surprised because I love The Lighthouse. It's one of my favorite movies, and that's also Robert Eggers, and so I didn't expect Nosferatu would have so many jump scares. It really didn't feel necessary. I thought the dread was very intense through the whole movie, just from the atmosphere and like the acting and the story. So, and it's the same with games, you know. Inscription had a lot of horror elements and I really enjoyed it, but there were like 1 or 2 times where it really jumped me, and you know, if it doesn't happen too often, that's fine. Like I'll take 1 or 2 jump scares that are like built in the game, and if you just get me once or twice, that's fine. But if it keeps happening all the time, that's when I don't like it. So not opposed to horror games, just has to be the right one, I guess. So what would you be willing to play for the channel? Well, any horror game that's more about its atmosphere than about startling you, I guess. So thank you. Next we've got from I Am the Lex, who says, if you could make a game your perfect game, what would it look like? And I remember I got that question in the previous Q&A also, and it was something I hadn't really thought about until then. And what I had said was I would love to make a game about my character Charlie, who's a detective. So it would be like a detective game, but it would have elements from like life sims, like Animal Crossing type stuff. So it would be like this semi-open world where you could explore the city and meet a lot of people, so you could build relationships with people, make friends. Of course, you would have to solve crime and like solve mysteries, like, so there would be a detective aspect, but then also, you know, gather outfits and like change your appearance. You could change like the furniture in her apartment and do some decoration. It would have like just kind of a lot of these different things. So yeah, I guess if I was to make a game, that's probably the game I would make. Of course, that's never going to happen, but if I allow myself to dream, that's the game I would love to make. So thank you for the question. Next we have from Itchy Little Toe, who says, what's your favorite game to play when you are not recording? Well, when I'm not recording, I'm playing all kinds of different games. I mean, there's not one specific one that I go back to. It's a very tricky process to pick what games I'm gonna play not on the channel. Like, it has to be a game that I'm interested in, but that I don't think would translate well to a Let's Play, or like that I don't think people would be interested in watching. Because there's so many games that I played before creating the channel, which I wish I could go back and play in front of you guys. Of course, at the time, I had no way of knowing that I would eventually make a Let's Play channel, but you know, I keep being asked for, like, you know, Hollow Knight is the main one that keeps coming back, and unfortunately, I played Hollow Knight before having the channel, so... But yeah, when I'm not recording, I'm playing all kinds of games. In fact, if you follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky, I make lists about all the games that I finished through the year. I also made a video around New Year about all the games that I had played in 2024, so thank you. So next we've got Jeremiah Marks, who says, is there a place to recommend games for you to play in the future? I'd love to watch you play Horizon Zero Dawn someday. Well, again, unfortunately, I've already played Horizon Zero Dawn. In fact, it's one of my favorite games. And the place to recommend games, of course, you can recommend games to me anytime in any of my comment sections. When a lot of people keep recommending the same game, I will write it down and check it out. So I do write down your recommendations, so keep sending me some. And then question for your Q&A, if you could pick somewhere you've never visited and spend time there to experience it, where and why? Well, I haven't really traveled much in my life at all, so there's a whole bunch of places I haven't been to that I would love to visit. A bunch of countries in Europe, you know, Italy, Spain, Belgium, Finland, Sweden. I would love to check out the mountains west of Canada. I've never been. You know, there's a whole bunch of places I would love to visit, and it's probably for the very same reason that anyone else likes to travel, is to see the sights, you know, see some nice natural scenery, or just see the people there, the architecture, like the different cultures. I think Italy is probably the next trip I'm going to be making, possibly next year. It's in the early stages of planning. It might or might not happen. I'm not sure yet, but that's kind of one place I've had my eye on for a few years. Thank you for the question. Next we've got, and I'm going to try to pronounce that correctly, Joaquin Boime, who says, what music do you listen to? Again, any specific genre, any favorite bands? I've kind of answered that already. So thank you for the question. Next, we've got from Kay, who says, congratulations, you're my favorite YouTuber. Again, thank you. I can't think of anyone more deserving to reach that new milestone. I don't know what to say. You guys are way too nice to me. I'm just a guy playing games on YouTube. My question for the Q&A is whether you'd ever consider playing some more AAA open world long titles on the channel, such as Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, I've already played that one. Hogwarts Legacy, Red Dead Redemption, or if you would prefer to mainly stick to smaller games or indie titles. Well, I'm not opposed at all to playing longer games on the channel. In fact, I am planning to play Red Dead Redemption on the channel. And as some of you have probably noticed by now, I like to juggle basically one longer game with like a shorter game. Typically, I'll do like 2 episodes per week of a longer game and then like one shorter game in the middle. It's what I was doing with Prey for a while, and I've kind of broken away from that because I happen to be playing like a bunch of different things right now, but I'm probably going to go back to that soon. So 2 episodes of a longer game and then 1 episode of like a shorter game, just to have a little bit of variety on the channel. So totally open to playing more big and longer games on the channel. It just has to be the right one. It has to be a game that I know a lot of people are going to be interested in watching for a long time, because, you know, if I play something like when I did Elden Ring, that was 40 episodes, and so that took months to get through. And just by the nature of Let's Plays on YouTube, the longer a series goes, the fewer people are watching it. You know, it's just kind of the natural way of things. Even if I only do, you know, like 10 episodes, the viewership will keep going down with each new episode. So I have to be really sure that people are going to be watching, because I don't want to like give up halfway through a playthrough. That would really suck just because no one's watching it. So I think Red Dead Redemption has a pretty good chance of attracting a good viewership. So we'll have to see. But I do also very much enjoy smaller games and indie titles. First, because they tend to be very unique and creative, and I love indie games, but also because when they are shorter, it tends to keep people's attention a little bit more. Thank you so much, Kay, and thank you for saying I'm your favorite YouTuber. I can't believe someone would say that. Next, we've got from Laya Bobita, who says, any advice, tips, or wish you knew you can provide for someone that's considering to start a gaming channel too? Your experience with it as well, and your editing video making process would be nice to know as well. Any advice for someone who wants to start a gaming channel? Well, I mean, it's not like my channel is huge or super successful. You know, I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years and I'm only at 5K, so I don't know that you want to take advice from me necessarily. I myself could probably still use the advice of some more experienced, more successful Let's Players, but I would say start by playing games that you're really interested in, because people can tell, I think, when you're just playing something because you think people will be watching, even if you're not interested in it. I've never really done that. You know, I've always stuck with games that I actually was interested in, or at least curious about. And also, I would say try to figure out your audio pretty early. Don't do like me, where if you go back to some of my earlier videos, like the sound quality was not always great, the camera quality was not great. And I know it's hard when you're just getting started to invest in an expensive microphone, which is why I've kind of started with a very basic one, and then like I tried to upgrade to a better one, and then I tried to upgrade again. But I do kind of recommend investing very early on a good microphone and a good camera if you can, if you have the money for it. And when it comes to my editing and video making process, I don't really have any advice because I've never really learned like formally how to do it. Like I just randomly got some editing software years back and I've just been learning from doing it. Like I never followed a class or any formal training. I've just been learning it by trying things and doing stuff. So it's probably not the best way to go about it. I would say you can probably find some good classes online about how to do video editing that would be more efficient. Any other tips or advice? I mean, the titles of videos and the thumbnails are really important if you want people to actually watch what you do. And like, I don't really know how good I am at it. I'm still fiddling with like thumbnail formats and like trying to improve things from time to time. But it's very important to have a very eye-catching thumbnail and eye-catching title, even though it's the part about having a YouTube channel that I hate, is like trying to grab people's attention at all costs with like a big like shocked face on your thumbnail and like big all caps titles, but unfortunately that's kind of the stuff you have to do in order to grab people's attention on the homepage, you know? So just know that for every video title that's been in all caps and for every like shocked face that I've done for a thumbnail, I've hated doing it. It's a necessary evil. It's something that unfortunately we have to do in order to grab people's attention. You have to play the game if you want to win. So that's showbiz, baby. So thank you for the question. Next we've got from Liwaj or Liwaj. What tattoos do you have and do you plan on getting more? Already kind of talked about my tattoos. Do I plan on getting more? Sure. I've still got some free space, some real estate. My full back is still empty, so there's room there. I could still do some on my legs. I do have a few ideas. Mostly, I just don't have any money. Have you traveled around Europe? Which countries left the best impression? I have been, but I've only been in one country, and it was in Denmark to visit a friend of mine. But I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. The people there were very nice, and I would love to go back. Have you played Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian? What do you think about those games? Do you plan on playing them? Well, again, definitely played Shadow of the Colossus. In fact, it was my favorite game for a very long time. I think I played it pretty much around when it released in like 2005, 2007. Amazingly, I have not played The Last Guardian. I bought that game on release, like the very same date released. I was like super excited to play it. I was like, oh my god, finally we're getting The Last Guardian after like a decade of hearing about it. And then I never played it for some reason. I think I just got busy with I think I must have been waiting to finish whatever I was playing at the time. And then I just somehow never got around to it. And then years kept passing and I was like, one of these days I'm gonna play The Last Guardian, and I haven't done it yet. So that is one game I am planning to play on the channel eventually. I just need to find like the right spot for it. And I'm sure it's amazing because Shadow of the Colossus was amazing. And I'm also really excited about their next game that they're working on that we first saw very recently at the Game Awards, I think. Really excited about that next one because every single game that this studio makes is a masterpiece, is like a work of art. So cannot wait to see what they're gonna do next. And the genericest question of them all, what's your favorite game? Well, you answered your own question, my friend. That would be Shadow of the Colossus / Outer Wilds would be like my top 2. So thank you. Next from Lydia, congrats on achieving this huge milestone. Thank you so much. As for the questions, all I can think about is your cats. I know that you already mentioned them in your previous Q&A, but still, could you tell us about them again? Show them, tell us how you got them, how old are they, what are their personalities? Do they like to hang out in your room while you record video games? It's kind of baffling to me how rarely they appear in your videos. Well, Lydia, there's a very good reason why they don't appear, is because most of the time when I'm recording, I lock them out of my room so that they won't be like fiddling around and like scratching the door or like playing with the cables or any of that stuff while I'm recording. So to avoid any distraction, I tend to lock them out of the room, but sometimes they'll be sleeping on the bed next to me. In fact, Picaro is sleeping right there, right next to me. You wanna be my video? Oh, he's so sleepy. I woke you up. You gonna sneeze? I woke him up. He was just sleeping. Sorry. Yeah, see, he's right there, just off screen in his little basket. So that's Picaro. That's my first cat. And then I also have Beatrix. They're both, I think, 8 years old. And Picaro is a cat that my dad found outside his house. As a kitten, he was like abandoned by his mother. And so he had this little kitten just outside his door. And he gave it to me. So I've been taking care of him ever since. And then there's Beatrix, which is a cat that my sister got for her family. But unfortunately, someone in the family was allergic to her, so she gave her to me instead. And I've been taking care of her ever since. Yeah? You're so wet. Why are you so wet? Because you've been licking yourself? You stink. Oh, he's so grumpy. He's kind of grumpy now as he's getting older. Baby. And so yeah, they tend not to be in the room when I'm recording. Sometimes they are. Like, he's made a few cameo appearances in some of my videos. And I do like when he shows up because, it creates a little memory. And then once he's gone, I'll have something to look back on and remember fondly, because you never know when they're going to be gone. We had a big health scare with Picaro last year, with both of them actually, but him especially. It was actually right around the last time I did a Q&A on the channel. Like, he got really sick and needed surgery, but he's been fine ever since. Knock on wood. Hopefully he stays healthy for a long time. But yeah, I'm always like ultra aware of how quickly, you can lose them and how lucky we are to spend time with them. And so I really try my best to appreciate their presence in my life while they're there. I mean, we should do that about everything we love, right? Any family member or friend or pet, like it can all be taken away from us so quickly. So really make an effort to appreciate, your pets and your loved ones, because you never know when's the last time you're gonna get to say I love you or spend time with them. Sorry to get super real all of a sudden, but yeah, it's something I think about very often. So say hi to the fucking camera. Ow! Stop trying to use your claws for everything. Bébé. Oh, petit nez rouge. Le petit nez rouge, les bébés. See how grumpy he is, les bébés. So, thank you for the question, Lydia. Next, we've got Maria Kissel, who says, do you have any pets? And why don't we hear duck quacking in the background? Well, I do have pets. I've got Picaro and Beatrix. These are the only two. And yeah, you can't hear ducks in the background, but I did have some as a kid, which I guess is why I love them so much now, because when I was, I think, 8 or 9, I had a few ducks in my backyard, and like, they're very affectionate, they're very cuddly, like they love to follow you around and snuggle, and they're great pets, they're very kind, they're very loving. I mean, if you get them used to you when they're young, of course. And yeah, I've loved ducks ever since. So thank you for the question. Next from Milad Sukakian. Again, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Any plan on doing a live stream? So the thing with streaming live is I am super awkward, as you may or may not be able to tell, but also I struggle quite a bit with speaking English for some reason. And so I'm definitely thankful for having the power of editing in order to cut out all the silences or all the moments where I'm like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for again, Or like all the times where like I say the wrong thing, or like it happens all the time. So it would be pretty tricky to do live stream. Like, I have considered it not as a main thing to do all the time, but maybe as something to do like every once in a while, like just once in a blue moon. And I might still do it. I would need to figure out the technical aspects of it, of like getting the volume right for everyone and stuff like that. But let's say the door is open. I'm not completely opposed, but it would be pretty stressful for me to do. I don't think I'm the best in a live environment. And another reason why I haven't really done it yet is because I don't think I have big enough of an audience where like enough people would actually show up if I was to do a live stream. I prefer just posting a video out there and then like people can kind of watch it at their own rhythm, But if you say you're doing a live stream like on Monday at 6 and then you start streaming and no one shows up, that's gonna be really awkward for me. So but never say never. Might happen in the future, but it's never gonna be like a main thing. I'm never gonna become like a Twitch streamer or anything like that. My main thing is always going to be edited, pre-recorded Let's Plays on the channel. So thank you for the question. Next from, and I have to pronounce that right, Misha Popovich. Is that right? Love your channel, always looking for what new game you'll be doing, even now when Chance of Sonar is done. Here's a few questions, if any of them pique your interest. I know you played Elden Ring on the channel. Do you plan on doing Shadow of the Erdtree as well, or did you play it in your own time? If so, how did you like it? I am definitely planning on playing Shadow of the Erdtree. In fact, I recently got my brother to lend me his copy again so that I could play Shadow of the Erdtree on the channel. Because we've got some unfinished business in the lands between. Like, it's a few years old at this point, but my Elden Ring playthrough is it's one of the games I had the most fun, not just playing the game, but making the Let's Play. Like, I did a lot of funny edits in that one, and like I was really having fun with it, so I look forward to going back to that one. Hopefully, people will be interested in watching it. On that note, what's your favorite Souls-like game? I haven't played that many of them. Like, I haven't played the earlier Dark Souls. I only played Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and then Elden Ring. So it would be between Bloodborne and Elden Ring. I like the aesthetic in the story in Bloodborne more, but I do like how accessible Elden Ring was, and like the open world was very fun, and like I love the variety of powers and weapons you can use in that one. Have you played Hollow Knight? I'm guessing you have, and if so, did you like it? If not, I would love to see a playthrough of it. It's one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite games also. So yeah, I have played it before creating the channel and really fell in love with it. I love the hand-drawn visual style. I love how creative it is. The world that they came up with is so like, it's very original. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like Dark Souls, but it's its own like twist on things. Even though it's very cartoony, it's also very kind of dark and like gritty, but also it's got some like whimsical charm to it. I absolutely love Hollow Knight. I would place it in my top 10 at least. My only regret is not getting to play it on the channel and share it with you guys. That would have been an amazing adventure, but whenever Silk Song comes out, I will be playing that on this channel for sure. How did the movie watching project come about, and do you plan on continuing it this year? I love the surprise edition of that. Would love to see more. Any good watches since the beginning of the year? For me, this is always the busiest movie watching time when year-end lists and Oscar nominations come around. The movie watching thing was like, because I wasn't really watching that many movies previously, and it's just something I kind of like realized from discussing movies with my brother. And I was like, you know what? I bet if I tried, I could watch like a whole bunch of them. So I ended up watching how many, like 237, I think, in 2024. So I'm really glad you enjoyed those videos about movies that I watched. I am still trying to watch like some of them. I still have a long list that I haven't gone through yet. I haven't really watched that many so far this year just because we've been watching mostly TV shows because, you know, the new season of Severance came out, and then a whole bunch of other stuff like What We Do in the Shadows and Invincible, and the new Castlevania came out. There was like a whole bunch of TV shows that we had to catch up on. So we have watched a few ones from the ones we've seen. What did I like the most? I really enjoyed Bullet Train from 2022. That was a lot of fun. Really liked Past Lives from 2023. That was a great movie. And Nosferatu again, even though I didn't like the jump scares, I really liked everything else in it. That was also another great one. So that's 3 recommendations from me from what I've watched recently. And then somewhat related to that, how are you managing your time between all the things you're doing, your art, the channel, and fun things like the movie project? How do I manage my time? Well, I'm trying my best, is the best I can say. It can be a bit of a struggle sometimes because I am juggling quite a few things, but definitely since being able to monetize the channel, it's made things a little bit easier for me, even though I'm still making very, very little money on the channel. But between that and the support of my patrons, it's allowed me to do a little bit less work on the side when it comes to art. It also helps a lot that I'm leading a very boring life, so I don't really have that much to do anyways. And watching movies doesn't really take that much time because it's something I do with my girlfriend whenever we're eating dinner. We're always either watching a movie or watching a TV show. So that's like our little part of the day that's reserved for that. So it doesn't really take that much time away from my other projects. But yeah, I don't know. I just try to do as much as I can with the time that I have. Sometimes it is a bit of a struggle, like especially recently I've been a little bit lagging behind on making videos just because I got a new desk and then I had to like reconfigure my whole setup. And so that took some time away. Now I'm a little bit playing catch up on making these videos, trying to get ahead a bit more. But you know, they're all things I really enjoy doing, so it's not a problem at all. I like the process. Here's to a quick 10K. Fingers crossed. So thank you. So next we've got Nerak who says, congratulations, I've been on your channel since Outer Wilds. It's really nice to see references to this game in your new videos like the one in Chants of Sonar. I love when I hear from people who have been here for a very long time. It's kind of surreal to think that people have been following me through all these different playthroughs, but really appreciate it. I wanted to ask, how do you feel about the Dark Souls series? Have you played it yet? Do you plan to in the future? Dark Souls rewards those players who are attentive to the lore and the world around them like you, so it would be interesting to watch your playthrough. Well, again, I've played Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, but I haven't played the first Dark Souls or the second one or Demon Souls. So like these are still games I could potentially play on the channel. if people would be interested. Again, it always depends on the audience's interest. I know how cryptic the lore can get. You know, I tried my best when I was playing Elden Ring to kind of keep track of what was going on, and I caught maybe, I would say I understood maybe a good 70% of the lore. And then when there was stuff I wasn't sure about, people would usually like explain it to me in the comments. So I do enjoy that process of trying to understand the lore. And how do you feel about the Souls series? I like them overall. I enjoy the gameplay style. I like the challenge of it too. I like the emphasis on kind of like less standard storytelling where it's more like in the environment or in the item descriptions, or like it's not really spoon-fed to you that easily. I don't think they're perfect games per se. Sometimes people talk about them like they're perfect, like masterpieces. And they are great games. I don't think they're perfect necessarily. For one, I think it's really stupid that you can't pause these games even when you're playing offline. There's no good reason why you couldn't pause your game. I think their co-op mechanics are kind of clunky and very unintuitive. Like it's really complicated to get to play in co-op with people when it could be so simple. Like you just choose co-op and then that's it. Like I don't know why they make it so unnecessarily cryptic. And I have like other small like criticisms, but I do like them overall. So maybe eventually I'll be playing the first Dark Souls or Demon Souls on the channel. We'll see. And then Nerak also asked, what does the phrase you say at the beginning of each video mean? Something in your native language? I'm actually glad someone asked me that. I thought maybe it was obvious, but then I realized maybe some people don't know. So at the beginning of videos, I say Salut tout le monde, which just means hello everyone in French. And I started doing that because I would get a lot of comments of people saying like, oh, like, is English your first language? Like you have a bit of an accent? Are you like from this country or this country? And so I figured I would just open every video with like a French sentence just to make it clear from the very beginning. I'm not a native English speaker, and just to have like a little something special and unique, you know. I figured like having a little sentence in my native language right at the beginning would be a nice touch. So yeah, Salut tout le monde is for hello everyone, and then at the end of videos, typically I will say à la prochaine, which just means see you next time. So thank you, Nerak. Next from Ni Rubra, congrats on the milestone, here's to the upcoming 10k. As for my question, I want to ask a good one, so hopefully this is it. What would you say were some of your favorite, most memorable moments in the games you have played on this channel? And also before you started doing YouTube, how do you feel about those moments looking back? That's really hard to come up with on the spot. Like there are so many memorable moments, and a lot of them are like big spoilers for games that you might have not played. Like if I was to say, oh, the thing that happens at the end of Shadow of the Colossus is such a great moment, because I might spoil it for people who haven't played it. But I mean, there's many different answers, right? Of course, like big reveals in story-heavy games are typically very strong moments that stick with you. Like if they've established a big mystery and then when you finally get that reveal, it's always like a very memorable thing. But sometimes it's just a very peaceful, quiet moment that resonate with you because, you know, the atmosphere and like how they resonate. Like that moment in Disco Elysium where you sit on the swings with Kim. It's a very quiet moment where nothing big happens, but it was very memorable just because I don't know, the tone of it and the feeling of it. Like there's a lot of moments like this that kind of stick with me, that are more like quiet, just reflective moments. And some of my favorite moments in games is like not even something in the game itself, is like when you're on the cusp of something big, you know, just that moment when you're standing on the precipice. The example I always go back to is in Gravity Rush 2, which is one of my favorite games, which probably not that many of you have played because it's kind of an obscure title, but see Picaro scratching the door to leave. That's the reason why I typically keep them out of the room when I'm recording. Alright, what was I saying? Yeah, in Gravity Rush. So the world of Gravity Rush is this city that's kind of like in the sky, and it's built around this giant pillar. They call it the world pillar, and it goes forever like down and forever up, and like people don't know what's at the top of it, people don't know what's at the bottom of it. And then in the first Gravity Rush game, there is a moment where you finally go down the pillar and then you eventually figure out what's at the bottom. And then in the second game, there is a part right at the end where your character climbs up at the top of the world pillar to find out what is up there. And I always remember the specific moment because I kept delaying it because I enjoyed the mystery of not knowing so much, you know? Because it could have been anything. And I always have these moments in many of the games I play where like there's this big mystery and I'm like, this is it. This is the last time. I don't know what this is. You know, this is the last time. I don't know how this story ends, or this is the last time I won't know what this part of the lore is. And I always try to savor these moments, you know, because they're very special. There are moments you can never get back, but all you can remember is like how you felt before finding the truth. And like, it's very rare that the reveal is as satisfying and kind of like what you were imagining, but in getting to kind of like bottle this feeling of not knowing is one of the reasons why I started making these videos, is because I get to record my reaction and I get to remember what it was like not knowing something. So yeah, long answer to a simple question, but hopefully it answers your question. So thank you. Next from Nosage118, have you ever considered playing Alien Isolation on the channel? I would have, however, I've already seen all of it, unfortunately. Because I was kind of like it's kind of a horror game. I was a bit scared to play it. So when it came out, I remember, I think I watched, I think Markiplier played it on his channel, and I remember watching all of it. So obviously that was years before I had the channel. So if I had known I was going to make a Let's Play channel eventually, I probably would have abstained from playing it so I could play it on the channel. And I quite enjoy it. I mean, I still haven't played it, but I've seen all of it, and I think it's a pretty great game. The environment is so faithful to the movies. It's really impressive. And I also love how they finally made a game where the alien is threatening. Like, it's not just one of hundreds that you gun down. It's just one very dangerous threat that keeps stalking you throughout the station. So I think it's a great game. Unfortunately, I will never get to do a blind playthrough of it, but thank you for the question. Next, we've got from Oleandi. Congratulations on the 5K. Thank you. I was also one of the many people who found you via Subnautica, but I've loved all of the other series I've watched since then. I think my question is basic, but favorite video game or series? I know I saw some Mass Effect tattoos. Indeed, Mass Effect is one of my favorites, and hopefully I've kind of answered your question already from listing my favorites from before, so thank you for your question. Next, we've got from, I'm gonna try to say that right, Rauween van Resselberge. How did you become a video game tester? I believe you mentioned it once. Do you collect stuff related to games or anything like that? Okay, well, first, how did I become a tester? Very, very easily. It was like an entry-level job. So I just went in the studio, I gave my resume, and they called me back, and I was one of like hundreds of testers. So I wasn't a development tester, I was a QA tester, which is not really the same. When you're a QA tester, you don't really need any specific qualifications. You're pretty much just playing the game, filling out checklists. Some of my friends, however, did move on to become development testers, which is a bit more like you're part of the development process, but I was never that. So yeah, it was quite easy. You just walk in the door, give your resume, say that you play a lot of games, and they weren't that picky. It was for Activision, by the way, if anyone was wondering. And do you collect stuff related to games or anything like that? Not really. I'm not a big collector of things. I don't really like owning a lot of things, which is part of why my room is very boring and I never really show it in videos, because it's all white walls. There's not that much decoration. It's kind of empty. I don't know what you call the opposite of a hoarder, like someone who doesn't like to collect a lot of things. That's kind of me. I like having the fewest amount of things possible. I do have like a few collectibles, either things I got in fanzines or like I got a little acrylic stand of Zidane and Kuja from Final Fantasy IX. I've got like some stickers. I got some charms on my keys, like I got a little Kim Kitsuragi on my keys. Got a little Napstablook Luke from Undertale. I got a little figure of a Hollow Knight and Hornet, which I really like. So yeah, like a few small things, but typically I don't like hoarding a lot of stuff. So thank you for the question. Next from Suleiman, do you plan on maybe playing Baldur's Gate 3? It's about to receive its last update and really deserves its 2023 Game of the Year award. I did play Baldur's Gate 3, it wasn't on the channel obviously, but I did play with my girlfriend right when it released, and we played it in co-op, had a lot of fun, really enjoyed that game. I do think it also deserves its Game of the Year status, because it's an amazing game. It would have made for a very, very, very long playthrough, however. I'm not sure if a lot of people would have watched that, but so yeah, thank you, Suleiman. Next from That Salix, most generic question ever, but just in case it's not on the list yet, how did you start playing video games? What age and what games were your first? I'm always curious about that. You know, I don't actually know how that first NES found its way to my place. I guess my parents bought it, but did I ask for it because my friends had one, or like did I see one somewhere in the wild and I asked for it, or were they just trying to find something to keep me busy? I don't really know how that first NES got into my house, but that's how I got started playing games with the first Super Mario Brothers and the first Mega Man. These are the two first games that I played, and then I was hooked for life, baby. I started playing video games when I was like 4 or 5, and I just never looked back. I never stopped. Like, I don't think my parents ever expected that I would eventually make some money from video games. It's kind of surreal even now to think about, but yeah, thank you for the question. Twilights asks, any favorite 90s games? I mean, that covers a big range of games. So games from like the SNES and N64 era. Well, you know, all the Zeldas on N64 were masterpieces for sure. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Super Smash Bros. On N64, really liked. Final Fantasy VI, that's also 90s, right? Yoshi's Island, that's 90s. Yeah, I would say like Smash 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Yoshi's Island, Final Fantasy VI, maybe would be my 5 from the 90s. But all the other ones, of course, you know, all the Sonic games, the Mario Party, Super Mario 64, all the big games from that era I liked. So thank you. Next from Uliana Golub asks, if it's not too private information, what made you begin this channel and what are your experience with running it? Is this your full-time job? Maybe we can have a cat cameo. You already got your cat cameo for the video. What made me begin this channel? I think I've answered this in both previous Q&As, but basically I was playing a lot of games in co-op with my friend Audrey. And then all this very funny stuff would happen to us, of course, and I really wanted to save it so that we could watch them again later. So I started recording our gameplay sessions and kind of like editing them together, and I realized I quite enjoyed this process. And then I guess what really pushed me to make my own channel is a good friend of mine, Joe, started his Let's Play channel during the pandemic. And then I think my girlfriend started hers after him. And then, you know, from seeing them, I was like, oh, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. Since I was already kind of like doing some video editing and stuff like that, I was like, maybe I can try my hand at it. And my channel has since become bigger than both of theirs, so I win. And is this your full-time job? I'm not quite making enough money from YouTube to be able to say that it's my full-time job. I'm making like a little bit from YouTube, and then like a little bit from Patreon, and like a little bit from doing art. And so when you get all of these together, you get a little bit of money. So juggling all of these things is kind of what my full-time job is. I wouldn't recommend it. I am broke as hell, so keep your full-time job, it's probably better. But maybe eventually, if the channel keeps growing and growing, it can become my full-time job and I can quit doing art for money and I can keep art as just a hobby on the side. So thank you for the question. Next from Yggdrasil42, who asked, what genre is your favorite? I'm guessing you mean game genre? I wouldn't really have known what to answer for the longest time, but now that I've played a lot of them, I guess mystery games is my favorite genre, like Return of the Obra Dinn and Chants of Sennaar. Basically, I just really love indie games that have like a unique creative concept that hasn't really been done that much before. I have a real soft spot for games that are non-violent just because like almost every game out there is about fighting and killing and shooting and slashing, and like there's no shortage of those. And like I love these, I like, and they're fun, you know, like the Souls games, and Zelda even is about kind of fighting, and I have no problem with those. I just like trying something else, you know. Chants of Sennaar is a great example of a game that's not about violence, but it's so interesting. It's so much fun, really gets your brain going. So that would be kind of my favorite genre if I had one. What did your early gaming experience look like? Nintendo, Atari, PC? I'm a bit too young for Atari. I started on the first NES. Never had a gaming PC until much later, so I started with just the NES, and then we moved on to SNES and Sega Genesis, and then to the N64 and PlayStation, then to PlayStation 2, and then 3, and then I went through pretty much every console except like the Xbox. I never really got into. Seen some of your tattoos. Any you want to talk about? Anything gaming related? Again, kind of talked about my tattoos already, so thank you for these questions, Yggdrasil. Next from Zwarn, who says, congrats on 5K. Thank you, Zwarn. For the Q&A, is there anything during recording or editing your videos that you put a lot of effort into that mostly goes unnoticed in the final product that you would like us to know about? As someone who doesn't create any kind of audio or video content, I'd love to get a little behind the scenes look of what's important to you while making videos. That is a very interesting question. Let me think about that. Something I do that I put a lot of effort into that goes mostly unnoticed. I feel like that's a lot of the process, to be honest. Like, what's really difficult and time consuming, and the part I hate the most about making videos, is kind of like all the technical stuff. It's getting the settings right on your camera, trying to get the green screen to work, trying to get the right settings on your microphone, which I'm still, after years, still not like 100% satisfied with. All that stuff takes a lot of time and I hate doing it, especially whenever you change something in your setup. Like, let's say, oh, I have a new microphone, I have to change all the settings, I have to figure out the best way to go about it. And then there's some stuff that's not really about the videos themselves, that's more like for me that you guys don't see, but that it takes some effort. Like, for example, I have to shave before every video. Like, I don't want to have like stubble or anything, so I have to shave before recording. If I have like a big pimple on my face, you know, it's very distracting. I also don't want to look bad, so my girlfriend got me some concealer, so before doing the video, you know, I'll have to apply some makeup. Now, this isn't really stuff about the video itself, but it's part of the process for me. You know, it takes some time. The most time-consuming thing is, of course, like video editing. That's what takes the longest, although I've gotten pretty efficient at it. Like, I've got my shortcuts now, like I've learned to kind of be more efficient, but it still takes quite a lot of time. And to your point, something I spent a lot of effort into that mostly went unnoticed is audio editing, where for a long time, you know, I had the microphone very close to me, and so I would get like a lot of mouth sounds because you know, when you're talking for hours and hours, my lips would get really dry, and so I would have to put on some lip gloss. But then if you have some lip gloss, you get a lot of like a lot of mouth sounds, and that would be super annoying. So I had to go in and like take those out like one by one through the whole like 2 hour, and that would take like a very long time. So that's one of the reasons why I've kind of moved the microphone further away, so I could stop having to do that for every video. Whenever I make a cut in the video, you know, I have to kind of mesh the audio together. Just audio in general is the most time-consuming thing. Like adjusting the volume of the game, like trying to make it so the game is not too loud or too quiet, and like that you can hear my voice. And I'm still not perfect at it. Like sometimes I will get a comment of someone saying the game's a little bit too loud, or like, oh, I can't really hear the game that well. It's always such a struggle and such a process trying to get the volumes just right for like the speakers and then like on the headphones. And just know that if you've ever noticed like some flaws or like some problems with my audio, I apologize. I swear I'm trying my best. Like, I'm really not an expert at this stuff. I'm just kind of doing it by ear. So I'm always open to feedback, of course, but it's a real struggle. It's been the most difficult part for me, is getting the audio right on the videos. And you know, making thumbnails also is a thing that people maybe don't really think that much about, but it does take quite some time to make them. You know, I had a suggestion once from someone saying, oh, why don't you just split your videos into like shorter videos so that you could upload every day? Like, you know, let's say you post a 1 hour video every day, or like 30 minutes. And I was like, well, that sounds good in theory, but then I would have to make a thumbnail for every single video every day. Like, that would really add up. But also, funnily enough, sometimes when I'm bored, I will just make thumbnails for games I haven't played yet. So I already in my folders have a bunch of finished thumbnails for games I haven't even played yet. Like, all that's gonna be left to do is just put in my picture on it, and then that's it. Like, it's all ready. So it's just something I do sometimes when I'm bored. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little glimpse behind the scenes. I like the stuff that I have to do before each video. You know, for a very long time, and still sometimes to this day, I get a bit of imposter syndrome where I'm like, you know, why do people watch my videos? Like, it's not a special skill. I'm not that interesting. Like, making videos, anyone can do that. But I've come to realize that's really downplaying like how much effort actually does go into making these videos. And like it may not seem like it, but it does take quite a lot of effort to make these videos, from the editing to recording to getting the equipment right to like all these small details that people don't really think about. So at least for that part, I do pat myself on the back, even though, you know, I do still feel sometimes that I'm not really worth watching or that interesting, but you guys keep tuning in, so I must be doing something right, I guess. So thank you for your question. Hopefully that answers it. And then we have one final question from, and I'm gonna try to say that right, Semen Sava, who says, do you plan to play Red Dead Redemption 2 if you haven't played it yet? Well, I'm gonna start by playing the first Red Dead Redemption on the channel because I'm a firm believer in playing things in release order. So we're gonna be playing the first one, and then if I like it enough, I guess I'll be playing the second one. It's very likely that I will because it's one of my girlfriend's favorite games, so I definitely want to check it out. I've been really wanting to do a let's play of the first one. In fact, the only thing that's stopping me is I'm trying to find a cowboy hat for the videos. I haven't really been able to find one anywhere because either they're too expensive or my big fat head won't fit in them. So once I'm able to find a cowboy hat, we're gonna do that Red Dead Redemption playthrough, y'all. So that was the last question. It took me hours to record, but once I take out all the dumb things I said and like all the mistakes I made, it's probably gonna be quite a bit shorter. But again, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who tuned in, everyone who sent a question, everyone who subscribed to the channel, everyone who makes time out of their week to watch my videos. I really appreciate you guys. Hopefully 10K is not going to be too far away. Hopefully we can get there pretty soon, and then sky's the limit. Oh, and also while I've got you guys here, I have like a very small announcement. Starting with the next video, I'm going to be introducing like a little introduction splash animation or like a stinger animation at the beginning of videos. We're going to take it for a spin, and the only reason I'm kind of like announcing it is because I'm really proud that I was able to work with the composer for Spirit and the Mouse, Jisula. I reached out to her to ask if she would be willing to compose a little musical jingle for the channel, and she was kind enough to accept. So there's going to be like this little musical jingle at the beginning of videos now, and it's just one of these little things. I'm always trying to think of new things to like spruce things up and add a little bit of personality and something special to the channel. So we're going to be trying that out, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So with all that being said, that's going to be it for me today. So again, a big thank you for tuning in for this Q&A, a big thank you for supporting the channel, and you're going to see me again very soon. So until next time, à la prochaine.